Welcome back, folks. The Sandbox client has been live for about 4 days, and the initial reactions from the Sandbox were pretty much negative because a lot of players hate the stats changes, myself included. But today's video is not going to be about the Sandbox. Technically, it's going to be about my reactions from the Sandbox, my belief or discussion on the status quo or meta shift if the Sandbox conditions were implemented into the live server, and my problem with that and my solutions. So technically it's a reactions video. It's not a leak video or informative video, so it does not really break the NDA, the non-disclosure agreement. So you can go narc on me if you want, but bite me. It's not really about that. So today's video will have no information, and the information are pretty much public knowledge by now because a lot of websites like bloggers, streams, and other YouTube channels already covered this stuff, so it's pretty much public knowledge by now. And the main reason that the NDA was put into place was because people are sheep, and mentioning nerfs or something like that, people will riot, so become a herd of angry mobs and just grabbing pitchforks and torches and go rioting, rabble. So yeah, people are fickle. So basically the NDA is meant to stop the knee-jerking, if you will, but it's already pretty much public knowledge by now, and already covered all the stats changes with the leak episode way before the release of the NDA. So you can go watch that by clicking on the picture. But yeah, it's mostly for rioters to prevent it. So today's video will not break the NDA, hopefully, but you can go narc on me if you want, whatever, I don't care. But today is mostly about the discussion on how the meta will shift if the changes on the Sandbox were implemented onto the live server, and what would you expect out of the playstyle. Yeah, something like that, but it's not going to be good. So I'm going to talk about my problems with the whole meta shift and my solutions with it. So it's a fix for the whole Sandbox in general. But let's get started. So here is the status quo. So in the Sandbox, Wargaming wants to make the light tanks more viable because they're pretty much crap. Make the medium tanks less OP because they're pretty much OP. Make the heavy tanks more resilient. Tank destroyers focus on accuracy rather than DPM, and balancing artillery. But what really happened was they only tested one light tank, which is the T-49, so data inconclusive. Only the slow top speed and traverse of the medium tanks were mostly changed, so medium tanks could not really flank, and they're pretty much crap. The heavy tanks became dominant because lack of gold shells, and tank destroyers became dominant if they have armor, and pretty much crap if they don't. So basically artillery is worthless. Artillery is absolutely worthless. So even if they nerf the damage, nerf the penetration, they still carry annoyance factor, which is the disabling or crippling effect of the dazed and confused disabling effect, which is too long, 30 seconds, but whatever. So yeah, the meta game is basically the juggernauts in Call of Duty and high explosive meta. So everybody is either playing heavy tanks or tank destroyers with armor, like the Yak Panzer E100, the E100, the Mouse, the FE25B 183 with the high explosive round. You cannot use the Hesh because gold ammo, but it's like facing every juggernaut around every city block or corner, and super aggravating. So there's no variety whatsoever. No point of playing medium tanks because they're too slow. No point of playing tank destroyers without armor because low DPM. No point of playing light tanks because of corridor maps, and no point of playing artillery because low DPM yet again. So basically just play heavy tanks. You would be stupid not to. So the corridor maps, the armor focus means everybody is camping a city block with armor, and the slow traverse means nobody is going anywhere fast. So it's a juggernaut infested city map, corridor map with high explosive everywhere. It's sick. I'd rather have the medium tank, the main battle tank-ish of a medium tank meta than this. At least you can play heavy tanks or tank destroyers with some effect. This is basically heavy tanks everywhere. Just throw Simtex at the riot shield. Throw the Simtex. Oh god. Just disgusting. So here is Wargaming goals that they posted on their website on this iteration of the Sandbox. Alright, I can prove it to you. So click on here and click on this Sandbox forum thread and you can read all the information change. But here is the main kicker. So right from the horse's mouth, the main goal is to increase the importance of armor. Alright, I think we talked about this for like 6 months now, right? I mean, you saw the videos with Jingles talking towards the community contributors like in January, like 6 months ago. You saw they talk with North America about the main problems. And you're thinking that the main problem is armor. What are you smoking on? The main problem asks like 99% of the community, and the main problem is artillery. I can confirm. But you think it's heavy tanks and armor? What? So, new vehicle balance goals. Increase the importance of armor in the game. Currently, the armor is significantly less important than speed and firepower. We would like to make sure the armor are more relevant in the battle. Okay, sure. Here is what you get with armor focus. The OI. You know how the OI was OP? Yeah, it was armor focused. It didn't have the CV. It had the firepower, but it's mostly armor. Yeah. You want to go towards that for everything. Okay, sure. So reduce the cost of mistakes made by players in the battle. We are going to encourage players to fight actively. Increasing the role of armor will allow players to fight without being afraid of going into the garage right after being spotted. As to penetrate the tank from distance will be much harder. You know what I think about that? The cost of mistake is basically someone on the opponent's team doing their job correctly, and you're being punished for it. Alright? So basically you're telling me that if you want to reduce the cost of mistake, you are negating the efforts made by your opponents to spot your ass and coordinate the fire onto you because you're stupid enough to drive into the open? That's your fault. And this is the stupidest thing I ever heard. So wars are won based on mistakes by your opponents. Misplacement of troops, mismanagement, misleadership. That's all mistakes. And you're negating all of that if you make one, so your opponents don't make the win? Is that really fair? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Alright, next one. Decrease the risk of being focused from afar. Increase armor importance should increase player survivability at far distances, even when focused by several enemies. I'm going to stop there, because that sounds also pretty stupid. Alright, if you are being focused by multiple players, that's called coordination. Alright, that's called synthesizing your fire. Alright, that's fire on target, multiple fire on target. Alright, just coordinate your fire. That's a tactic. That's a teamwork based strategy. World of Tanks is a team based shooter. Alright? Tactical shooter. Whatever you want to call it. Same as League of Legends, same as Counter-Strike Go, not really as Call of Duty, Random Deathmatch, basically Team Deathmatch. You're making this into Call of Duty, Team Deathmatch, TDM. What the coordination is one of the key strengths. It's actually one of the main strengths of teamwork, and you're just negating it? Being focused from afar. Okay? If someone is spotting you, someone is telling their teammates to shoot at you in unison, that's called teamwork, and you're negating it with increasing armor. Okay. Next, decrease combat distance. Long-range clashes should not be the ultimate way to win battles for the majority of vehicles. Vehicles should perform certain roles like shielding allies, soaking fire, and pushing through the defense. Yeah, that describes heavies. What if I don't want to play heavy tanks? What if I want to play no armor tank destroyers? You want to block shots with the Waffenträger? With, tanks without armor like the Batchat? You want me to run out there shielding my allies? Yeah, you're describing one part of a one tank category. There are varieties. You know that, right? That's why there are so many different tanks. It's not like we have like 2 lines or 3 lines, 3 tech trees, and that's pretty much it. Alright, what the hell are you smoking on? Increase the gameplay variety. Roles of different types of vehicles should be distinguishable, and performing them should make battles more diverse. And yet you're decreasing the combat distance because you don't care about vehicles with sniping based on sniper vehicles like the Panther or the Waffenträgers. Because you said so. Wow, fuck that shit. So, what the fuck are you smoking? Improve gameplay experience. The changes to armor penetration at distance will encourage players to be put into more Alright, you cannot really convince a coward out of a hiding spot if you give them more armor, alright? It's a different mentality. Just, why? It's not the same gameplay experience. Everybody is playing a juggernaut. Everybody is playing mouse. Remember, all the suggested changes are not final and may be altered. You better be altered because it's stupid meta if you want to do that. So, facepalm all day long. Alright, so, yeah, the main goal is to increase the importance of armor. You saw that, right? The main goal is to increase the importance of armor. You barely know the main problems of the game, and you're fixing the wrong issue. You're tunnel visioning onto the heavy tanks and armor focus, when those aren't the real main problems with the game. And you're over-nerfing for classes that doesn't deserve it, namely tank destroyers. You already nerfed tank destroyers with the accuracy and the view range. Now you're nerfing the DPM. What the Alright, so basically corridor maps plus armor focus equals to who would ever play vehicles without armor? And you cannot use gold shell, so what's the point? So terrible planning process for the sandbox. You have 5 million credits for the deposit and 500 gold. So you cannot buy equipments for all the classes. You cannot test everything. You cannot even buy shells some of the time. So this is a big fail or a PR stunt or both, because it does not look like you planned for this. And it looks like you're saying, we're doing this sandbox so our players will be happy that we're testing new features and bullcrap. Alright, do it, but do it well. Don't do stuff half-assed. So 6 months of happy player mentality. That's what Victor Kisley promised. But you discuss all the problems with the videos on Jingles, like with the community contributors and discussion in Cyprus and all the stuff. And this is the best we get? I don't believe it. Yeah, that's how Sylvester Stallone was saying. I don't believe it. Oh god, I can't do it. It's really crap. So Artie asks, what's the main problem with World of Tanks 6 months ago on the North American forums? So not a lot of players responded, but 262 is not that small of a bracket list or sample size. So as you can see, the main problem is artillery. The second is matchmaker. Alright. The third is toxicity. Heavy tanks does not even come close. Medium tanks also is surprising. Not as much as light tanks. And tank destroyers, not even close. So you're focusing on heavy tanks and survivability when artillery was the main problem. The amount of effort you put into changing artillery rather than the amount of effort you put into changing heavy tanks is dramatic because heavy tank meta. Everybody plays juggernauts. What the frick? So here is how you can fix everything. Alright, just scrap everything you have. Here is the change. So light tanks have more view range. Average of 430 meters of view range at tier 8. So they will become super keen-eyed and they will spot everything. So increase their hull traverse, make them more nimble. Increase their terrain resistance or decrease their terrain resistance, but make them faster, yada yada yada. So they can spot and do the active spotting or passive spotting. So that's how you change light tanks. Now you nerf the mediums, nerf their view range, nerf their DPM because they have 2,700 DPM compared to tank destroyers 2,500 DPM. What the frick? Alright, change that to 2,350. Change the penetration to 240 millimeter on average. Alright, change the heavy tanks to compensate. Simple enough. Increase their health so they can survive longer if you want to focus on heavy tanks. Change the tank destroyers by a little bit for the view range, but not anymore, alright? You already nerfed the tank destroyers enough. And artillery, that's a whole different can of worms. But the simplest change that I could recommend is adding the warning indicator or direction indicator after they are shooting at you to tell you that you should move, like armor warfare. Try that out, see how it works, then move on to different stuff, alright? Or you can nerf the penetration, that's fine with me, but don't nerf the alpha, alright? Don't nerf the alpha of big guns. A 210mm howitzer firing gigantic high explosive shell should not only do 300 damage. That's the same damage as a 100mm AP shell. What the frick? It's 4 times. Alright, based on size, even though the diameter is only increased by 100, it's 4 times as big. And you're telling me it does the same damage? So if Wargaming feel that they want to reduce the cost of mistakes, then that's a red herring, because mistakes, that's your fault. So if somebody is making you pay for your mistakes, then they're doing their job correctly, and you should not negate their efforts, alright? You should not just cancel out what they're trying to do, because they're actually playing the game right, and you are the dumbass making the mistake, so you should learn to focus on changing yourself. What the frick? Simple stuff. Alright, so honest opinion, artillery is not really that bad from my perspective, alright? Getting one-shotted is because of mistakes, RNG luck, timing, place. So you're at the wrong place at the wrong time and you just get derped. That's RNG. But artillery has the worst XP requirements and the lowest credit/XP income. So they're not the funnest class to play. And you already make them even more nerfed towards the ground, so even crappier. So feel free to add more cover for the maps, just for the artillery cover, or nerf the penetration, but don't nerf the alpha. 210mm high explosive shell should not just only do 300 damage. That's bullcrap. So just add the warning indicator, like armor warfare, and the direction that's coming with the shell, and see how that performs. If players like it, then add it, and bypass the whole changing of artillery, because artillery has been nerfed ever since patch 8.6. With each and every patch, artillery been nerfed and never buffed. Alright, they're one of the worst XP earning classes. They have no credit income, and the requirement to get towards a tier 10 artillery from tier 9 is 50% more than other tank classes. So it takes like 300,000 XP to get towards a tier 10 artillery than the 200,000 XP for a tier 10 medium or tier 10 tank destroyer or heavy. Is that really fair? No. And you want even more nerfs? Just add more cover. Just add the indicator of artillery shells. And I even thought about light tanks having the perk of giving your teammates the ability to know artillery shell incoming to give light tanks more impact on the battlefield or the general direction so you can counter battery them. So many potential, but you're just nerfing the artillery with stats changes and not really think about the different stuff you could do. I don't get it. So how to combat toxicity? So it's a very difficult matter that covers a lot of games, not just World of Tanks. So community effort and public relations, that's a big one. But having a positive feedback-ish positivity outweighing the shutout of the negative, that's very important. So what I mean is you should reward and focus on making a positive community rather than, oh, let's just shut this guy up and ban him and shut this guy up and ban him for like a week and temporarily solve the problem. That's not how you do it. So if you reward positive reinforcement from your community, then they automatically shut out the negative. Get it? So if you want to watch more about me talking about public relations and how to improve it, you can click on this little picture right now. But it's mostly about how you can improve the positivity of your community without, slowly picking out this guy as a bad sheep and picking out another guy as a bad sheep and just, temporarily try to shut out the problem. It's not going to shut out by itself. So let the community do the job for you. And how to matchmaker. Now, a lot of players know the skill-based matchmaking is so good. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Well, skill-based matchmaking means all the people of same skills place into one. So what about the Unicoms? What about the higher tier, the green players? They will take a longer time to get towards the same green players. And a lot of players talk about the equal or balance in matchmaking. So equal numbers of balancing of different skills. So basically 50%-ish all the time. And that's super boring. So yeah, there's no easy matchmaker. But in all honesty, I don't mind the current matchmaker. Yes, there are plenty of window-licking idiots, morons, dumbasses. I agree. Damn it, Dale. So there are a lot of dumbasses, I agree. And yes, sometimes I do get 14 of them, and I get crushed super hard. But I maintain a Unicum status, even when I'm dealing with the same matchmaker as a tomato. So everybody has the same matchmaker. And why do I keep a Unicum status? Or why do other people keep the same Unicum status or green status if they have the same matchmaker as me? Right? It's how you deal with the tilt. It's how you handle the frustration of getting bad players. And just make the best out of it. Do your best. And that's pretty much it. The matchmaker, yeah, sometimes you do get unlucky, I agree. But sometimes I get super lucky and have a pools medal. What about that? Who knows? It's a randomness. So, in all honesty, try to deal with the tilt. Try to deal with the frustration. And just better yourself. That's all I can ask for you. Ask to do. And that's pretty much it. Don't worry about the matchmaking. Don't worry about the battle. Just do the best. Understand the game. And have fun. It's a game. Well, you have to be mid. Right? So, is it time to panic? Not really. Lots of people hate it. It's a sandbox after all. So, the main reason the NDA was put into place is because mob mentality, riots, pitchforks. It's nothing to worry about, all right? It's a stupid start. It's not prepared. It's sloppy. But it's the sandbox. So, like every sandbox, it's like 10% sand and the rest is like crap and feces and urine and other stuff. So just don't worry about it. All right. So hopefully you guys understand the current situation, the status quo, and understand how the meta will shift based on difference in armor and all the other stuff. So analysis. And this is what this channel is about. Analyzing different stuff. Ooh, okay. But thank you guys for watching this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
してく